Hello everyone. In this video we're going to explore how you will write the perfect marked answer for your AQA A Literature Paper 2 Section A. So we've already gone through the mark scheme, we've already gone through how you plan the response, we've already talked about how you will then go on to achieve full marks. Let's look at how we write that response then. So obviously our introduction, we need to make sure we're avoiding kind of generic information about text and immediately start to create our argument. We might briefly state why our argument is correct, but you should save most of this for your main paragraphs. In your main body, this is essentially where we will be achieving the majority of our work. So our different points of argument which support why we are correct. So we have to make sure that we are using all the elements of the assessment objective in our answer. And again, you want to be using a method which is not too dissimilar to point evidence explanation or PIE or whatever you call it. Because then that will help you support all of your kind of aspects of your argument. In our conclusion, we want to reaffirm our argument once more, making it clear why we feel this way about the text and why the review of love has been presented in this way, because then we're evaluating. So now we're ready. Now we've already seen our plan. Let's have a look at the question once more, and then let's begin to look at our answer. So, Tobin's postmodern text does indeed indicate that the character Tony can in part be said to be a selfish lover. However, it is too simplistic, 2 O's needed, to make this assumption. It is true that the initial interaction of the characters within the extract do suggest the male figure selfishly plans for the female protagonist to conform to the traditional role of motherhood. But the biased nature of the narrative perspective hides the fact that the character Ellis is racked with uncertainty over her potential husband, which creates what may be considered to be a selfish silence between the two. So you can hear clearly dictating what my point of argument will be, not as simple as he is or he isn't selfish, there's more to it than that. As highlighted above, there is no doubt that initially in the extract the character Tony is portrayed as being a selfish lover. This is immediately apparent throughout the opening through the multiple inclusions of sentences which place the character Tony as the active element of the sentence. He loved her and he asked her what was wrong, which disempowers the female character in a manner which would reflect the traditional social context of an Italian American at the time in regards to perceived roles of the female. The character's selfishness is further emphasised through the contrast of the author's linguistic choices for both figures in the text. As the figure Tony emphatically whispered again that he loved her, the repetition highlighting his belief. So again, it's a nice idea of looking at language as well as structure. The character Ellis, through the use of the omniscient narrator, uses vocabulary such as maybe and but to highlight her indecision regarding not only Tony but the submissive world in which he represents, according to a feminist interpretation. This narrative style allows the reader to decipher that Ellis' mind is never made comfortable by the character Tony, who merely states his intention for the figure, rather than allowing the figure the perceived freedom that a move away from Ireland in the 1950s could potentially have offered her. The fact that Tony therefore comes in part to represent the male gaze in this extract highlights that the figure is not only selfish, but that all men, particularly those with the character's heritage, care only for themselves. So you can see in those ideas here how I've got structure, form, language covered, context all being covered here, but I'm answering the question all the way through rather than doing generic things. In terms of our conclusion, overall, the writer has indicated that selfishness is in part based on the traditional gender roles that society, both modern and during the period the novel is set. That said, it is clear that Tony, the embodiment of the traditional male view, is a selfish character who does not seek to calm the fears of the character Ellis. It can also be perceived that Ellis is in part selfish, but has, as the writer presented the character in this manner, to reflect the uncertainty which came from the perceived liberation some women experienced in the postmodern world. So there we are, we've written our full mark response, we've gone through the whole process. Let's move on to section B now, shall we? So good luck with your own revision and well done.